Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 212. And I don't know how the Lakers pulled this shit off. I really don't. I don't know how the Lakers pulled this off. Where they traded away a guy who's been more injury prone in his career than he's been playing for them. And you arguably get one of, if not one of the best players in the NBA at his position. You arguably get one of the best players on his team, trading for a guy who's been injured more often than not, right? I don't understand that. And we all know it's a bunch of bullshit when they said, when LeBron and the rest of them boys said that they didn't know about it. No, they knew about it. You don't shake up the organization like that without telling your top guys. But we'll see. I don't think it's gonna work with the Lakers though, because you're dealing with two ball dominant, guards. LeBron always gotta have the ball in his hand, and so does Luka. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What I wanted to talk about, man, is something I hinted on my story earlier this week, and most of the shit I say in my stories is it's pretty much relatable. Anybody can relate to that, right? When you talk about how to deal with conflict, how to deal with certain things and triggers and everything like that, because people will have triggers, whether you knowingly set them off or not, right? And what's interesting to me is when people have these triggers, instead of them knowing how to deal with it, they want to just blame you. That's what an unhealed person does, right? I was told once, by somebody who used to be a friend of mine, oh, me and my ex never argued or, never had a fight or anything like that in 5 years. I've always thought that was weird, because ain't no way you can be living with somebody for that amount of period of time and not have an argument. I've never understood that. And when I say that, because it's true, because it's you're saying that you never had an argument, with your significant other ever. Nothing he or she's ever done has ever pissed you off, right? Which doesn't make any sense. And the more and more I got to know this individual on a deeper level, the more and more I saw that there was a reason why this shit never got to an argument. Is because you never went past the surface. You never went past what the real issues were. You just stayed right at the surface, and that's what you wanted to see. You wanted basic ass shit. And a lot of people will do that, and then they wonder why their relationships are subpar. Anyway, I also said a bunch of things in my story too. When I said how you deal with conflict is extremely important as well, because dealing with conflict will, it can only help you as you get older. You don't want. I swear to God, you don't want to be one of them dudes in your late 30s, early 40s, and you don't know how to deal with shit, or you don't know, or you don't want to be that dude who doesn't know how to deal with conflict. Who doesn't know how to deal with certain things, because things will pop up in your life that you have to deal with. Whether you want to deal with them or not, they're gonna pop up. It's idiotic to think that they're not, right? And so when they do pop up, just understand that it's, hey, it's okay to feel a certain way. It's okay to, to have these feelings, and when you don't take time to actually understand or regulate yourself, that's how you end up in situations where it can be extremely toxic and a powder keg. And I think a lot of people will not only will they sit there and make excuses, but they'll sit there and they'll say, "Well, I didn't plan for this to happen. I didn't plan for that to happen." Yeah, I know you didn't, but you know what, it happened. So what are we gonna do about it? Get back, right? And another thing too that I said earlier in the week, well, a couple of weeks back, I said, why buy the cow when you're already getting the milk? And it's true. I hate it when people be like, "Oh, well, he or she's doing the bare minimum." Yeah, because they're already getting what they want. What they want, whether it's sex, whether it's quality time, whether it's X, Y, and Z. And if you want something deeper than that, and my boy, my girl, you ain't getting that, then you need to go somewhere else to go find that. Because you shouldn't have to tell somebody more than twice what you want. Because I say that because it's true. Because a lot of the times people will say shit the first time, and like people be like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." But if you reiterate it more often than not, people will pay attention to what's being said. And when you give people the opportunity to show them to show up, and to be important, um, you have to understand that it's okay. It's okay that some people are gonna fall short. It's okay that some people not gonna be as deep as as deep as you are. It's okay for that to happen, because it's like that's what makes life beautiful. It's like if everybody was at the same level, then it wouldn't mean anything. Um, and I think that's why a lot of people they falter at, because they automatically think, "Oh, well, X, Y, and Z happens, or this is gonna happen," every single time. Like, no, the person you dated was an asshole, or the person you dated wasn't ready, or the person you dated just wanted the attention. And I think when you understand what's really going on, and you understand that while it may not be the most ideal for you, sometimes you gotta go through these lessons, and you have to understand that it's okay. And you have to grow and you have to learn, but you don't want to be one of them people who operate off of emotion. Because if you operate off of emotion, you're extremely easy to influence. You're extremely easy to manipulate. And a lot of the times when people operate off of emotions, they're not thinking. Um, and when you don't think in certain situations, it can be diabolical. That's how people end up in prison. That's how people end up in jail, and that's how people end up in the hospital, because you let your emotions get the best of you, and you end up getting stuck in a situation where you had no business in it. And that's that's the sad part, because you end up just creating a situation where it didn't have to be that way, and it didn't have to be what it was. And a lot of people, instead of them thinking about it, they'll sit there, they'll blame everybody else. It's like, I know people who went to jail, and instead of them saying, "Oh, I went to jail or prison because X, Y, and Z," they'll sit there and they'll blame everybody else but them. And I'm like, bro, nobody told you to do what you did. Nobody told you to catch the charges that you know that you caught. Nobody told you to do none of that shit. You know, the problem is that you thought you wasn't gonna get caught. And when you when you in this game, you know, doing the shit that you doing, there's a strong possibility that you gonna get caught. There's a strong possibility that depending on what it is, you're gonna do at least 5 to 10 years for this shit. Well, if it's a federal crime, you're gonna do the whole 10. You know? Or if it's a if it's a state crime, you're gonna do what X amount of numbers, right? Um it's just unfortunate because people will sit there and like I said, like they'll make excuses for it. They'll sit there and be like, well, it wasn't me. Yeah. Like, no, bro, it was you. Stop. You know, it's okay. You know? And that's what a lot of people fail to realize, man. And it's like actions have consequences. And consequences aren't necessarily a bad thing. People think they are because the first three letters of consequences, con. Con is associated with a negative annotation. And at the end of the day, does it suck? 100%. You know? But getting back to what I was saying, why buy the car when you already getting the milk? A lot of people will waste years, decades, you know, waiting for somebody to get right, waiting for somebody to see their worth. And it's like, I was just having this conversation last night, and I say, the difference is that with most people is like who change and who get better, you know, for their significant other is that we see their worth, and it's different between us fucking up and not changing our behavior and versus those who do fuck up and who do change their behavior, right? And a lot of the times people will sit there and be like, well, I spent, 15, 20, 25 years, 30 years in a fucking marriage or 40 plus years in a marriage. And it's like, okay, but you knew after year 2 that it wasn't going to work. I've literally seen people get married, stay married for 40 some odd years and fucking get divorced. When they knew after year 2 that it wasn't going to work. You know, and people stayed together for, obviously different amounts of reasons, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, a lot of people just ain't a good fit. You know, they're not a good fit. You know, they don't communicate well. They don't, they don't do things well. Together. And I've always found this saying to be weird. Is that when people say, "Well, I still love you, but I'm not in love with you." In the back of my mind, I the reason why I find it weird is because how can you still love somebody but not be in love with them? This to me it doesn't make any sense. Because once you love somebody, there's always going to be a piece of you that loves them. There's always going to be a piece of you that thinks like, damn, if he or she would have got this right, if he or she would have, would have worked on this, if we would have worked on this, it possibly could have been better. And a lot of it has to do with your triggers, your traumas, and all the stuff that people go through. Because people will go through a plethora of different issues. And people will push you away simply because X, Y, and Z. And there's really nothing you can do about it. You just have to grow and get better and understand that while it sucks, it's gonna be okay. It's not something that that you have to spend time on to like, oh my God, this and this and that, because why are you overthinking it? There is no reason for you to overthink. There is no reason for you to try to come up with ways to make this shit make sense. Because if somebody wanted you the same way that you wanted them, they would show up for themselves in that way. Um, and granted, sometimes it's people not getting out of their own way, and people not understanding that it's bigger than them. And a lot of the times, they're so fixated on, like, oh, I just left this situation, I don't want the same thing to happen again. And granted, yeah, does it suck? 100%. That you're constantly thinking about what happened before this individual. It's like the guy who gets cheated on or who gets left, i.e. me, in the back of my mind, whoever I'm talking to at that particular time, I'm always thinking, okay, like, I know it's not going to happen right now, but when is it going to happen? Like, when's the other shoe going to drop? I had to check myself, because I'm like, okay, yo, like, here you are thinking about all the bullshit that happened to you. And at the end of the day, none of that shit matters, bro. None of that shit matters because it happened before the other individual. So you have to give the other individual grace and time and patience. Because, yeah, they're going through something traumatic as well. Everybody's going, like, the older we get, bro, the more fucked up we get. Like, I don't care what people say. Like, the older we get, the more fucked up we get. And the more fucked up we get is because we have these unrealistic expectations of what a relationship is versus, what we want it to be. Now, granted, yeah, it's like there are some non-negotiables that I'll never ever break on. Like, if you cheat on me, whatever it is, I don't give a fuck what the situation was. No, fuck that. That's a conscious choice. Fuck you and fuck the situation, right? Or if you use me to make yourself feel better, and I find out about it afterwards, it's like, yo, you could have just told me you wasn't interested. Like, that's why that show Grownish on Hulu it's so relatable, because I've never watched the show. I just seen the clips, and apparently it's about a girl and a guy. I don't even know their names, and but supposedly they were best friends, and she would always make moves, and think it was something more than what it was, and it's like, and it got to the point where bro said he was like, man, he's like, I can't take that risk of you giving you my heart, because it's like, look at what you've done with it. Because she kept coming back because she knew that he was a safety net, and after a while he got tired of being that, because he's like, he finally came to the realization whether he wanted to, or he finally admitted that he was being used. She didn't like him for him. She liked the fact that he was available. And then when he said it in a really, really respectful way, because most guys would be like, you know what, fuck you, and rightfully so. But he said the same thing, but just in a different way. And sometimes, man, is that you have to look at the situation for what it is, and you have to like just come to terms with it, and come to terms that there are people out there who just want to use you because you're available, and who just want you around to make them feel good, who just want you around because they know that you're gonna pour into them, and they don't have to pour into you. Or like when the effort is one-sided and you feel that way, like, don't get mad at it. Remove yourself. It's like just simply do that, because I also believe in the fact that if people wanted you around, bro, they would make an effort. Whether it's you meeting up and hanging out for X amount of time, or them inviting you out places with you, or them wanting to see you, or them making that one-on-one time as important. And I don't mean sex. What I mean by that is like it's great to hang out in a group setting. It's great to have all this stuff, but you also need that one-to-one time. Whether it's just you and them, spending time together. You know, and it's like, or you and them planning dates where it's just the two of y'all. It's like you need that, that space, that time, that separation from everything else. And if it's just you doing all that shit or making attempts to do all that shit, then leave it alone. It's like, stop thinking it has to be like, oh, the man gotta plan all this shit. Like, listen, like, yeah, great. It's great to take initiative, but it's also, you have to understand that, okay, is it just me planning this shit, or is it a joint effort? And I think a lot of the times people will get burnt out because they're like, yo, here I am doing X, Y, and Z, and none of that shit has been reciprocated. And usually when people say is, well, nobody asked you to do that. They're right. But what I was talking to a partner of mine the other week, and we was talking about the same topic. And he said, man, he's like, she may have not asked him to do that, but she definitely conditioned him. And I sat there and I thought about it. I'm like, that makes sense. Because you think about it, when usually people say that shit, it's like, yeah, they're right, they didn't ask. But look at your behavior. Look at what you was doing. Look at how you was moving. So there's so many different things that people fail to realize is because of that. It's like, and a lot of the times when it comes down to it, behavior never lies. You can sit there and bullshit with somebody all you want, but deep down inside, bro, it's like, motherfucker, I know, she knows, we all know what the move was. And it might take you a while to figure this shit out. It might take you a while to be like, damn, okay, it's really like that. Bet, And what's really fucked up is like and it's mostly women who do this shit. When women play with men like this, y'all make it really difficult for the next person who comes walking into our life to not break down those walls, but you have to deal with a version that they didn't create. Yeah? You have to deal with a version that doesn't really trust people. And then you find out why. And you keep finding out, and then you're like, yo, this makes fucking complete sense why you're like this. And again, it goes back to why buy the cow when you're getting the milk for free. And this applies to men and women. Sometimes you don't have to sit there and wonder what it is. You know what it is. And it's not that that this individual is a bad individual. It's not that he or she's bad or whatever it is. But they can be horrible for you. Because here you are wishing that they would give you more attention than what they're giving you. But my boy, you out there giving away the milk for free. Why would they invest in you? Alright, y'all. It's 24 minutes of your life that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keeping it 4Ps. Private, player, positive, and pushing. See y'all next week, Sunday. I love y'all. Ghost. And like I always say, know your worth, because you're better than what you are. Peace. Alright, y'all. Later.